Hey Zen and 10, Coach Tyler here, and welcome to week 3 of our Zen and 10 challenge. And today is going to be our Max Out Monday. Probably not exactly what you thought it was going to be. Instead of maxing out on weight or reps, we are going to be maxing out our flexibility and our range of motion, really just trying to get a good stretch, work on our breathing a little bit this Monday morning. So sit tight, and we are going to run through a quick set of stretches that are really going to help try and get your blood moving and kind of wake you up on this Monday. All right, first stretch that we have is going to be working on our forearms. As I get into these stretches, one thing to mention is if at any point you feel like pausing the video so that you can take a little bit more time, work on that stretch, you are absolutely more than welcome to. Another thing to emphasize when we're running through these stretches is making sure that you never stretch to a point of pain. Some slight discomfort is okay. We're trying to work on that range of motion within our muscles, but absolutely make sure that we're not stretching to a point of pain, and just kind of making sure that we're comfortable with the stretch. So with our forearms, what we're going to start with, we're going to put our palms together. Essentially kind of push those palms down to the floor. You should feel a bit of a stretch on this top part of the wrist, especially typing on a keyboard. This tends to get a little bit of sore. So we're just going to push those wrists down. Feel that stretch within the top part of our wrist, kind of work on that range of motion. Next, we're going to actually put the back of our hands together. And same thing, now we're going to pull those wrists up. Again, feeling this stretch on the top part of their wrist. As someone who's also previously worked on a computer, I can totally understand how sometimes that top part of the wrist gets a little sore. So we're just going to take our time, roll through those two stretches. And again, feel free to pause the video if you want to take your time on these stretches. Next stretch that we have is going to get into our upper back. So now we are going to interlock our fingers together. Try and push those palms out as far as we can. As always, make sure that you're controlling your breathing. As we push those hands out, we also want to think about pushing our upper back in the opposite direction. So I'm trying to get as long in those arms as possible. Push that upper back straight back behind me. And then sit up tall. Again, exhale, push that spine backwards, and then back up. Another modification of this stretch, sometimes it's referred to as the reach to the sky. I can take those interlocked fingers, reach straight up, maybe go to one side, go to the other, back in front. Now that we've gotten our upper back, we're going to try and get into our chest. With this one, I have a few modifications for you. What I'm going to show you first is kind of the recommended way of doing it. However, if you don't have the shoulder mobility or this stretch is difficult for you, feel free to perform a couple of the modifications. So what we're going to do first is try to reach behind our chair back and interlock those fingers together. Once my fingers are interlocked, I'm going to essentially push my chest out, stretching this front part of my shoulder, and then relax. Big breath in, push the chest out, and relax. A few modifications on this one. I can just kind of grab the bottom of my chair, do the same thing. But the key part of this stretch is that we want to try and stretch out this front part of our chest. Sometimes when we're working on the computer, the shoulders tend to round forward. This gets a little tight, so we really want to try and open up that chest as we're performing this stretch. Now we're going to start getting into a little bit of the lower body. So one thing that I'm sure a lot of us have done as we're sitting at our desk or sitting, in the doctor's waiting room, what have you, is we tend to kind of put one leg up. So now, as we're in this figure 4 position, we're going to try to work on our hip mobility by lightly pressing down on this front knee. Again, only pressing to get that stretch. We don't want to make it painful. Press down here, kind of work through that range of motion, both passively and actively. Once we feel comfortable with our hip mobility here, we're going to take our opposite hand, reach across, and kind of get a bit of a spinal twist into this as well. Perform one side, and then we'll switch. I don't know if you guys heard my hip pop, but clearly I need to be doing this too. So same thing, work on that range of motion in that hip. Reach across. And relax. Again, as always, try not to hyperventilate and control that breathing. All right, and for our next couple of moves, I'm gonna get you guys up on your feet. We're gonna stretch both our hamstrings and our quads. Again, kind of working on that full range of motion, getting a good stretch in this Monday morning. So first, what we're gonna do is we're gonna work on our hamstrings. So some of you may have heard this as like a hamstring sweep, hamstring stretch. It goes by a lot of different names. So I'm gonna demonstrate this pointing sideways. So I'm simply going to stick one heel out. This leg's gonna be relatively straight. From here, I'm going to kind of sweep down towards that ankle, hopefully feeling a good stretch down here in my hamstring. One key on this one is to not round my back into that sweep. I wanna keep my back nice and flat, kind of push the hips back and sweep down towards that ankle. And so I'm gonna perform about 3 or 4 each side, really feeling a good stretch in that hamstring. And then as always, feel free to pause this video to perform this one. Once your hamstrings are feeling nice and loose, we're gonna now work on the quads, so the front sides of our legs. So with our quads, feel free to grab your desk chair, whatever, for balance and stability. All I'm going to do is to try and grab that heel and kind of pull up on my ankle. Really try to get a good stretch in that quad. If you would like to try and kind of increase the stretch on this one, a good one is to kind of try and lean forward. This will kind of elongate that quad a little bit more. So I'm gonna lean into this, really work on the stretch of that quad. I'll hit the other side as well. Lean forward and get a good stretch on that one. All right, we've got our hamstrings, we've got our quads. In my opinion, one of the most neglected and most forgotten about parts of our legs that need stretched is going to be our adductors. So our adductors are one of the groups of muscles that help facilitate a lot of lateral movement. So we are going to perform just kind of nice, slow and controlled lateral lunges, or sometimes I'll even refer to these as hip rockers. So for our hip rockers, we'll find a nice, good, wide stance. As always, if you don't feel comfortable doing this at your desk, feel free to come down to the fitness center. We're more than happy to kind of walk you guys through these stretches. You're more than welcome to use the group fitness room, but once we get into our wide stance for our hip rocker, I'm just going to sit down into one hip, feel this stretch on the inside of my leg in those adductors, sit to the other side, and feel free, range of motion can be limited. You can stay as high in the stretch as you want, or you can try and sit all the way down, whatever you are comfortable with. So we'll just do about 3 or 4 each side. Really trying to work on that adductor range of motion, kind of loosen up those hips. All right, and the last one that I have for you guys is going to be kind of our return back to normal, a little bit of breath work before we get back to work. So this is going to be, for any of you who've taken yoga before, probably a pretty familiar move, but we are going to perform a seated cat-cow. Some of you may have done this in a quadruped position. But for our seated cat-cow, we're just going to take a nice comfortable position, hips at 90, shoulders nice and tall, hands can be down on my legs right here. From this position, I'm going to take a nice deep breath in, push my chest forward, exhale, driving that spine backwards, inhale, chest up, exhale, spine goes back. Perform about 3 or 4 of these. and you should be good to go, ready to attack your Monday. We will see you guys next time.